Happy Friday, and welcome to your Newsmax Daily for April 4th, 2025, or 4/4/25, the 94th day of the year, the 14th Friday of the year, and National Hug a News Person Day. Send me an emoji or something. Let me know you're out there. It's also National School Librarian Day. A little more important than National News Person Day. If you work in news or you're a school librarian, kudos to you and enjoy your day. On a Friday, no less. With the markets and economy in focus, today is also the first Friday of the month, which means the monthly jobs report was released by the Labor Department this morning. It showed 228,000 jobs were added to the economy in the month of March. That was much better than the 140,000 that analysts had predicted. If you want a job where it doesn't matter if you're wrong, be a meteorologist or an economist. That was good news, but the stock markets are still deep in the red again today. There's going to be plenty of talk about that, starting it off with President Trump making his way to Marine One as he departed Washington yesterday. Like I said, he would almost definitely be addressing reporters on his way to or from Marine One or Air Force One. This is next to Marine One, so there is a lot of background noise, but he was asked about the markets and the tariffs.
The markets today are way down, the worst day in years because of the tariffs. So how's it going?
I think it's going very well. It was an operation, like when a patient gets operated on, and it's a big thing. I said this would exactly be the way it is. We have $6 or $7 trillion coming into our country, and we've never seen anything like it. The markets are going to boom, the stock is going to boom, the country is going to boom, and the rest of the world wants to see, is there any way they can make a deal? They've taken advantage of us for many, many years. For many years, we've been at the wrong side of the ball. And I'll tell you what, I think it's going to be unbelievable. The thing that people have to talk about, we're up almost to $7 trillion of investment coming into our country. And you'll see how it's going to turn out. Our country's going to boom.
President Trump on his way to Marine One yesterday as he left the White House for Miami. Then in Miami, Marine One had a flat tire, causing the president and the first daughter, Ivanka, who met him at the airport, to take a different helicopter to the Live Golf event at his Doral Golf Resort. The president is now at Mar-a-Lago and getting absolutely shellacked by the media for saying he thinks it's going very well while the markets were crashing. Everyone and their brother on failing MSNBC and CNN were saying some version of that last night and this morning. The AP, Associated Press headline this morning, Trump says things are going very well after worst stock market drop in years. Technically, the stock markets hadn't even closed yet when he said that, and he meant the tariffs themselves were going well, not necessarily the markets. And look, I'm not going to pretend that it's not a big deal. It is a big deal. I am not happy about the markets, but we are playing the long game here, which, by the way, is what the markets and investing is all about, right? Unless you're an active trader, yes, a day trader, then it's actually pretty good. Why don't they get some of those people on TV? How many times have you heard the financial experts or maybe your own financial advisor say this week's market crash will be a blip in the radar over the course of 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, whatever your 401k investment goal is? Meanwhile, our Rob Schmitt went to the White House and sat down with Vice President JD Vance.
Mr. Vice President, thanks so much for having us. We appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good to see you.
Yeah, thanks for coming to the office. It's a beautiful office. I actually use my West Wing office a lot more than this one, but we're glad to have you.
It's a beautiful building. It's a beautiful everything.
Yeah.
It's amazing. So thank you
cool
so much.
Spot.
We appreciate it. Let's start with the big news.
Sure.
It's Liberation Day, right? It's Tariffs.
It is.
Yesterday was Liberation Day.
Yeah.
Today was the day the markets
Today's the
opened.
day after Liberation Day.
Right. So the markets took a hit. I'm sure that was expected. How are you guys feeling tonight?
We're feeling good. Look, I frankly thought in some ways it could be worse in the markets because this is a big transition. You saw the president said earlier today, it's like a patient who was very sick. We did the operation, and now it's time to make the patient better. Yeah. And that's exactly what we're doing. We have to remember that for 40 years, American economic policy has rewarded people who ship jobs overseas. It's taxed our workers. It's made our supply chains more brittle, and it's made our country less prosperous, less free, and less secure. Mm-hmm. I remember a couple of years ago when, one of my kids, we have 3 little kids, and one of my kids was sick. And I went to the pharmacist to get some antibiotics because they had an ear infection. And the first line antibiotic, the second line, and the third line we didn't have. And I thought, what a ridiculous thing that some of the medicines that were invented in the United States of America, American families don't have access to because we don't make enough of our own stuff. And that's fundamentally what this is about. The national security of manufacturing and making the things that we need, from steel to pharmaceuticals, antibiotics, and so forth, but also the good jobs that come along when you have economic policies that reward investing in America rather than investing in foreign countries.
Yeah, the frustration has got to be that, it's a very short-sighted media apparatus. The Democrat Party obviously is going to focus on anything negative about it. So you have all of these people focusing on, and like you said, the Dow was down 1,500 points. Out of 40,000, that's not that bad. It wasn't as bad as maybe some people had thought it would be, which is good. But the consistent focusing on, this business owner can't find what they need right now. It's like you're trying to do a fundamentally huge change to the American economy and secure it in a big way. Yeah. And everybody's sitting here paying attention to what little negative thing can I look at right now, tomorrow, the next month, and not looking at maybe the rest of our lives having a more secure country.
Yeah, look, one bad day in the stock market compared to what President Trump said earlier today, and I think he's right about this, we're going to have a booming stock market for a long time because we're reinvesting in the United States of America. And more importantly than that, of course, the people on Wall Street have done well. We want them to do well. But we care the most about American workers and about American small businesses. And they're the ones who are really going to benefit from these policies. Think about how many factories we've seen close down. Since NAFTA in the early 90s, 90,000 American factories have been closed down. That's small towns that have been blighted. That's millions of workers who have lost their jobs. That has to stop.
And that's your wheelhouse.
President Trump, that is my wheelhouse.
That's where
I
you're
grew up in a town where you had 10,000 great American steel workers, and my town was one of the lucky ones. Now probably has 1,500 steel workers in that factory because you had economic policies that rewarded shipping our jobs to China instead of investing in American workers. And that's what President Trump, he ran on changing it. He promised he would change it, and now he has. And I think Americans are going to reap the benefits.
What's your message to Grassley? Chuck Grassley, Cantwell, they have this bill now. They want congressional authorization for any more tariffs. What do you say to Chuck Grassley in this moment?
Well, I say, first of all, Congress gave the president the authority to do this, and the president did what Congress afforded him the authority to do. Now look, Chuck Grassley, I understand he's worried about farmers, but here's my message to Chuck Grassley. Do our farmers benefit when you have foreign competitors who send a lot of their farm products to the United States, but refuse to let our great farmers send beef and send other exports to those countries? That's the whole problem here that we're trying to fix, a one-sided economic system where people send all of their stuff into the United States of America, but they make it impossible for our great workers, our great farmers to get this stuff to other markets. That unfairness is why the president implemented these reciprocal tariffs. And really, fairness is the name of the game. Frankly, we could have gone a lot higher. As you said, the president said these are discounted reciprocal tariffs in some ways because what foreign competitors charge us is so much greater even now than what we're charging them. But the president is trying to send a message that, we're going to be a little kind, we're going to be a little discounted, but we're going to stand up for American workers. And I think that people who are worried about our farmers, Chuck Grassley's a good guy. I know he's worried about our farmers. But the way to fight for American farmers is to tell foreign countries, you can't stop what American farmers produce from coming in. You've got to open up your markets the same way that we've been open for business for decades.
It makes perfect sense. How funny is it watching Sean Fain, the auto workers union guy, who, by the way, picked the
guy who trashed
picked the worst horse ever. I mean, you picked Kamala over Trump, and now he's praising the president. I bet you he's got to be embarrassed by his choice in this last election.
Well, he trashed us, but we're welcome to have everybody on the team. And Sean Fain recognizes what so many auto workers recognize, which is that President Trump's policies are great. And yes, there is some transition that's going to come along with this, but you're already seeing the evidence that things are getting better. Egg prices are lower. Energy prices are lower.
Vice President James David Vance at the White House with Rob Schmitt. Nobody ever calls him James. Again, if you listen every day, as I suggest, you heard the UAW President Sean Fain defend the auto tariffs on yesterday's Newsmax Daily. Rob also asked the Vice President about Elon Musk.
The big story this week, one of the big stories, Elon and Trump. What's the real deal? I mean,
Look, the real deal is the president has full faith in Elon. Elon is a great attribute, and he's a great asset to the team. But Elon came in as a special government employee, right? He came in at the very outset saying, I want to work on this for as long as I can to make things better. But he's still running his companies. He's still involved, of course, in his businesses. And we've already found so much waste and fraud in the government already. Elon's going to keep on working at it for the next few months. He's going to find more waste. He's going to find more fraud. But this is really important. I've talked to Elon about this a lot. I've talked to the president about this. What we recognize is we were never going to get Elon for 4 years. That's just not the bargain. He's got businesses to run. He wants to focus on this problem, fix it, and help us. But we do have to make it long-standing. We got to make sure that you don't have illegal aliens collecting Social Security and Medicare, because that distracts from the American citizens who deserve that stuff. We got to make sure that bureaucrats don't run the government, that the people's elected president runs the government. So there's a lot that Elon has done, but we got to make sure that the great progress that he's made lasts long into the future, and we think it will.
It was implausible to think that the richest guy in the world was going to just hang out for 4 years. I couldn't agree more with that.
And he said from the outset, he wants to work on this problem, make the government more efficient, rein the bureaucracy in, and of course, I mean, he's the highest paid guy literally in the entire world, and he's been helping us a great deal. But of course, we weren't going to get Elon for 4 years.
The relationship is fine, though. Everything's
it's better. It's better than fine.
Got it.
I talked to Elon. yesterday. I'm going to talk to him later this evening.
Right.
The president relies on Elon's counsel. I do. Look, the fake news always tries to take the strongest members of the president's team and attack them and tear them down. Things couldn't be better. It's just, I don't even know where it's coming from.
Yeah.
And I think that where it's coming from is the media is so resentful of the fact that we're doing a good job. They know they can't attack the president, so they're going to attack members of the president's team. You see this, sometimes they come after me, sometimes they come after Elon, sometimes they come after other people. It's the game that the mainstream press plays. Unfortunately for them, we just don't listen to it.
Vice President Vance with Rob Schmitt from the White House last night. Great interview and conversation. And after that conversation, Elon Musk posted a video of Chuck Schumer on the Senate floor in 1996 talking about Social Security fraud by illegal immigrants. I was going to play some of that, but I have a lot of stuff to get in here. If you're on X, go check it out. If you're on X, I assume you follow Elon Musk, but go check it out. And while you're there, hit me up as well at radio_Marino. A lot of people have reached out to me on Facebook, which you can do, especially if you're not on X, but I am not very active on Facebook, to be honest with you, so I apologize if I haven't responded or accepted your invite. Newsmax's Bob Sellers, who has a long history in the financial markets, spoke with Pennsylvania Congressman Dan Meuser about Trump's tariffs.
Tell me what you think Wall Street doesn't get about this. And of course, I should make clear, as somebody that has traded stocks, you know, the market goes up and goes down. And sometimes when they're getting out of one position, they could be taking that money and putting it into something else. So there may be winners and losers in these tariffs. But do you think that Wall Street is misreading, or should I just be more clear? Critics are misreading what he's trying to do, because the market right now looks like it could open down over 1,000 points. Again, this is just a snapshot, but any concern from the people in your district about these tariffs?
Well, you're right. It is a snapshot. It's the animal spirits working in the opposite direction. It's a short-term reaction, and Wall Street does that. I mean, they're seeing that there will be some spikes. There will be some rattling. It's not uncertainty, frankly. It's more certainty, and that's what the overreaction is. But in the longer term, and on Trump time, the longer term means 5 months, 6 months, 7 months at most. We will see a turnaround. So it should be a buying opportunity. And something else, Wall Street and America, but Wall Street in particular. Okay, let's show some patriotism here. Okay, this is also a national security issue, right? We just went through a pandemic not too long ago. We couldn't buy pharmaceuticals. We had all kinds of supply side issues. We had China building ships like there's no tomorrow because they're shipping everything to us. Taiwan, where all of the chips come from, and conductors and all would crush so many businesses if for some reason they couldn't ship to us. So we need to correct this in a responsible manner. We need to do it. We need to do it for primarily national security purposes, but also our quality of life and economic prosperity. That's what will come.
Fair enough. Yeah. All right, Pennsylvania Congressman Dan Meuser, thank you, sir.
Newsmax's Bob Sellers, again with Pennsylvania Congressman Dan Meuser. The very first time I was ever on Newsmax was with Bob Sellers at the start of the pandemic back in 2020. The congressman makes an excellent point, and JD Vance mentioned this as well, right? The national security aspect of the tariffs, or what it's ultimately going to accomplish, is not getting enough attention. The vice president talked about when one of his kids was sick, he couldn't get the medicine that they needed because it came from another country. You know, that was during the whole supply chain issue, which we are likely to see again at some point in time. Yesterday, I played a clip of Education Secretary Linda McMahon speaking directly to Democrats who were holding a meeting or demonstrating in front of the Department of Education headquarters in D.C. Then later in the day, Linda McMahon was on Newsmax.
Secretary Linda McMahon of the Education Department. So, Madam Secretary, welcome back to National Report. What a moment, by the way. You wanted to get the message out by yourself. Could you walk us through what happened when you went over there to those Democratic lawmakers?
Well, as you set the stage pretty clearly, we'd had a really good meeting here at the Department of Education. We'd had, very candid conversation, and I responded to their questions, et cetera. And it was really supposed to be an off-the-record meeting. And then I discovered that they were having a press conference, outside, right on the education property. So I just said, well, I think I'll just go down and join and make sure that everyone has both sides of the story. So that's exactly what I did. They welcomed me to the podium. I think I would have taken charge of the podium anyway, but it was very nice that they did invite me up to speak. And so I just pretty much reiterated what we had talked about in the meeting, and and then went on my merry way.
I want to move on from that moment, if I can, to the college funding that a lot of folks are talking about. Your administration has been pulling funding from colleges across the nation, which you say have failed to get the anti-Semitic protests under control. Obviously, the big one, Columbia University, changing their policies as a result of its funding being at risk. Have any other colleges indicated, you know what, we're going to change our ways as well? What have you heard there?
Well, it's been very interesting since we did do some defunding, pretty substantial defunding at Columbia, and that was done by the task force, which includes HHS, GSA, as well as the Department of Education and to some degree Department of Justice. So a great part of that funding came from HHS, but it was really to emphasize the fact that Columbia had not taken the right measures and steps to protect students on campus against anti-Semitism. I mean, when you lock students in a library and are pounding on the window and yelling death to America and death to Israel, those students are really frightened. And Jewish students on campus at Columbia, and I talked to some of them because I went there, they're still afraid to go across campus. And so we wanted to really emphasize that, this is not going to be allowed. It's not going to be tolerated. The president has made it very clear that he doesn't accept discrimination of any kind, but to protect the safety and welfare of these students and to protect their civil rights is the goal, not freedom of speech. But, open discourse, debate, all of that is welcome. But when you put lives in danger, faculty was being attacked, et cetera. So we've talked to Harvard, Princeton, Yale. The president of Dartmouth came to visit with me, and the president of Yale came to visit with me. And so we're making gains to make sure that students' civil rights on campuses are protected, or we're just not going to tolerate it. And there will be more defunding.
Well, students pay a lot, as you know, in tuition. So the ability for them to feel safe on their own campus should go without saying. We applaud you,
absolutely,
obviously, for those.
Secretary of the Department of Education and former CEO of the WWE, Linda McMahon, on National Report with Sean Kreisman and Emma Reckenberg. And Dr. Mehmet Oz was finally confirmed by the Senate to lead Medicare and Medicaid services. When I saw the headline, I was like, oh, yeah, and you probably forgot about that as well. But part of his job will also be overseeing the Affordable Care Act coverage. So it'd be interesting to see what happens there. The Senate also voted 52-48 to begin debate on a budget blueprint to pass President Trump's agenda, which was supposed to be passed already, which calls for increased spending on immigration, for the Pentagon, for energy, and it calls for tax cuts. It also calls for increasing the debt limit. Kentucky Senator Rand Paul, one of few real fiscal conservatives left, was the only Republican to not vote for it. I told you yesterday, Senator Paul also voted with Democrats on a measure to block the tariffs on Canada. And once again this morning, Attorney General Pam Bondi announced the arrests of more MS-13 gang member scumbags, this time in her home state of Florida.
Sheriff Tony, thank you for your relentless pursuit of justice in these cold cases. And these cases are never cold when it comes to law enforcement. And I want to also thank Hayden O'Byrne, where's Hayden, our acting U.S. Attorney for the Southern District, and Brett Skiles, our SAC for the Special Agent in Charge for the FBI, and to all the great men and women of the Broward County Sheriff's Office, where our Border Patrol agents, all of our agents who are here who have done so much to help. Thank you all to the men and women, especially of Broward. and our victims advocates, our interpreters who have helped with this case. It takes a lot of people to make these cases, and they're so very, very important. And today we're here to announce the arrest of 3 more MS-13 gang members who were in this country illegally, and they were in Florida. And we will be reviewing them. They've all been arrested for first-degree murder. We will be reviewing them to see if we will seek the death penalty. This has been a long-running investigation that started in 2015. The victim in this case was brutally murdered, stabbed approximately 100 times by multiple gang members before he was shot in the head. He suffered tremendously. And these indictments are a warning to all criminals. We don't care how long ago you committed the crime. We don't care where you go. We will find you, we will arrest you, and we will prosecute you to the fullest extent of the law.
Attorney General Pam Bondi in a news conference this morning alongside Broward County Sheriff Gregory Toney and some other authorities. And I want to give him a shout out because I know Sheriff Toney is doing a great job. I live in the Central Florida area, Orlando area, but I used to live in South Florida. And if you're not familiar with Florida, Broward County is the Fort Lauderdale, Hollywood area right next to Miami-Dade. Pam Bondi, being the former Attorney General of Florida, has a great relationship with all of these law enforcement agencies, of course. One of these killers had MS-13 tattooed on his face. He couldn't be that hard to find, right? She said he was on the run for years. Maybe the tattoo is new, but I mentioned my X account earlier. If you look, you'll see he literally had MS-13 tattooed on his face. And did you see what happened in South Carolina? And I hate to end the week on a bad note, but a University of South Carolina student, 21-year-old Nathaniel Baker, known as Nate Baker, was killed in a hit-and-run crash by a guy who was in the country illegally, who had been detained before, and was driving without a driver's license. On Wall Street, as I mentioned, stocks are deep in the red again today. Dow Jones Industrial Average down about 1,000 points right now. Bitcoin and most other cryptocurrencies flat to slightly higher on the day. At the time of this recording, Bitcoin was at 82,275. All right, be sure to keep up with all of the news and breaking developments today and throughout the weekend on Newsmax, N2, and at Newsmax.com. Make sure you have the Newsmax app on your phone so you can keep up with the news wherever you are and whatever you're doing this weekend. It all starts each and every day with Wake Up America. That includes the Wake Up America Weekend Edition, Saturday and Sunday report. America Right Now on Saturday, the Sunday Agenda, Michael Savage on Sunday as well, and lots of expert analysis. I'm Tony Marino. Enjoy the rest of your Friday. Thank you, as always, for listening. Be safe and keep on fighting the good fight.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.